Hi, everybody. Good morning. It's Crafting Journey. This is Crafting and Crime Daily live on Tuesday, October 25th, 2022. And we're going to watch the Darrell Brooks closing arguments together. Now, the jury was sent home early yesterday so they could finish closing arguments. They're supposed to start any minute. The jury will return this morning. I think when they go home tonight, because I don't anticipate that we're going to get finished today with everything that has to be done. They're gonna be told to come back tomorrow with their suitcases and overnight bags because they will be sequestered. The alternates will not be allowed to go home. They will be held in a safe location, another safe location, just in case they're needed during the deliberations, in case somebody gets sick, comes down with COVID. You never know what could happen. We've already had one juror leave because of COVID. So that's, so we anticipate today will be, the jury will come in, they'll hear some jury instructions, they will hear closings, and Darrell has threatened yesterday that he's going to tell the jury everything. And the judge did say, you can only limit yourself to facts that are in evidence and the evidence. You cannot talk about anything that's not been brought in the case. I'll tell them whatever I want to tell them. And so God knows what he's going to try to tell this jury this morning. What do you want? You got to go outside? Oh my God, this dog. So we're waiting. I'm waiting for them to go live. Hi, Melody. Just gonna let the dog out. You missed the opening. If you're watching back on the replay, hit hashtag replay. Let me know that you came by. If you're on your way in or out today, if you're coming and going, please hit the like button at some point. Share this with someone you think might enjoy watching this circus while they craft. All right, be right back because Tootsie's crying. Oh my God, we gotta go out. I just took you for a walk. I have the weirdest dog. She she will not go to the bathroom on the walk. She waits till we get home. She gets her milk bone. Then I have to let her in the backyard. She just does not want to go to the bathroom while we're walking, which is okay because then I don't have to clean up anything. Anyway, I'll just leave the share screen off for now because what all it is the thumbnail of the the trial. I expect that Darrell will be at his absolute worst today because he was so bad yesterday. Like he's just escalated every single day his behavior. All right, here we go. They're he's organizing his boxes. Yesterday he built a box fort in front of him in the other court. In the He was in that second courtroom and he built a box fort so he could hide behind it. And the judge ordered the bailiffs to dismantle the boxes and put them somewhere else. But I thought it was pretty funny that he built this little fort so that nobody could see what he was doing. Claims to be reading the Bible when he gets really pissed off. Okay, why don't we have any volume? Let's see what's going on with the volume. No volume. Let me find out. They may not have turned it on yet. I'm going to stop sharing for a second, get out of this, and see if we can go back in because there's no volume. Okay, I've got the volume to work. Let me put it back on the screen. He started in his usual diatribe already.
Not state the correct name. It states the name of my client, the straw man. I am not this name in all capital letters. I do not identify by that name, nor do I know that.
There we go. Grab your coffee. Here, the show is on.
Your objection is noted, it's baseless in law and fact, and that is simply a caption on a pleading
That
on
is not my
the
name.
final jury instructions.
That is not my name, for the record.
All right,
I
the
don't
record should
recognize that
reflect,
name or-
Mr. Brooks, I'm talking. The record
I
should
don't.
reflect that at 3:23 p.m. yesterday, all of the verdict forms were printed off and provided to Mr. Brooks. I also provided him with an excerpt from the bench book on closing arguments. I left a copy on the state's table as well, and a second copy on the defense table today as well, so that I thought that would be helpful information as we are about that time in the proceeding for the parties to give their closing arguments. Of course, prior to that, the court will be reading through the final jury instructions. The parties were also given the updated version following the jury instruction conference yesterday as well. The total number of pages for that is 107. The court will be reading from the first 73 pages this morning. I do anticipate having to take one or two breaks before I complete all of that. My plan is to do that and then take the lunch break. And then when we come back from lunch, to have the parties provide they're not opening, their closing arguments. And then following the closing arguments, the court has the final jury instructions, which go through the closing instruction, instructions 460, 484, and all of the verdicts. And then the instruction to the jury 515 about their verdicts needing to be unanimous, and then selection of a presiding juror. The very last page, 107, actually is not read until the close of the case and only following receipt of verdicts or some other type of disposition that would result in the conclusion of the case. It's the instruction after the verdict is received. So page 107 is not something that will be read today. As indicated yesterday, I will be selecting the alternates by random selection. We'll use the tumbler and select 3 numbers out of that, but that will be done after all of the instructions are read and the parties have an opportunity to give their closing arguments.
Your Honor, I accept for value and return for value any documents that you just alluded to. I have not seen them.
Mr. Brooks, if you haven't seen them, that is by your choice. They were provided to you. I know on multiple occasions yesterday, you threw items into the garbage can. The court retrieved the final jury instructions. I personally didn't. I had someone do it, had them placed on the table this morning, and any other items you threw in the garbage.
So is that the paperwork that I had to stay here for over an hour for?
Sir, I'm not going to discuss any further what we did during the jury instruction conference. The jury's going to be brought
Jury
out a
instruction
little
conference?
bit later.
There's a conference. We talking about the proceedings from yesterday, or after you had told us we recessed
Mr.
for
Brooks?
I'm referring to after you called recess for the night yesterday. That's what I'm referring to. I was put in the holding cell for over an hour because they said it was some paperwork that needed to be.
That is correct, sir. You were kept there in order for my clerk, who had to finalize 76 verdicts, 2 each, 1 not guilty, 1 guilty, and provide those to the parties. And so that's why you were kept there, so those could be handed to you. My understanding is they were. I would need a bailiff to confirm for me whether he took those back to his cell or if they were put on his desk because he left them in the holding cell.
Left them in what holding cell? In here?
I have to look through his paperwork to see if they're on here.
What holding cell are you referring to, Your Honor?
Behind the door.
I didn't leave anything in that holding cell. I was just trying to figure out why I was in there so long.
Are those the verdicts?
Yeah.
All right, he has those. Thank you.
Is this the paperwork that was just put on my? It was paperwork on the desk when I came in. That was on top of my folders.
Mr. Brooks, I know that you were given the opportunity to take them to your cell because that is what I was advised. Whether you did that or not, I don't know.
That's
but they
not
are also on your desk now.
I accept for value, return for value, any documents.
We did discuss all of the jury instructions and the verdicts yesterday.
So what was discussed when I was in the cell for over an hour?
There was no discussion, sir. The court was in recess. Madam Clerk was simply finalizing the paperwork based upon the discussion that was held on the record in open court yesterday.
I was told that I had to stay there per you.
Yes, so that we could provide them to you and you would have an opportunity to take them back to your cell.
But
should
can
you wish
they
to
have
review
been
them.
delivered to the jail?
All right. I don't believe there's any other preliminary issues we
There are.
need to address other than an advisement I will have for Mr. Brooks. But let me turn to the parties and ask if there's anything preliminary to this phase of the trial, which is the jury instructions, the verdicts, and closing arguments from the state.
No, Your Honor, thank you.
All right. Anything else from you, sir?
Yes, there is. Yesterday, I stressed to the court numerous times about me not understanding the proceedings, and essentially how decisions were being made on my behalf without my understanding or giving consent.
The court made various rulings yesterday. I made findings and ultimately made some determinations. I stand behind the record that was made. I'm not going to explain it further.
So a lot of those decisions were made when I was not present in the courtroom. I was in the other courtroom,
That
correct?
is true, sir.
Is that correct?
The record will indicate when those were made and where you were.
I can't see the record though. How am I supposed to know what the record will reflect?
Sir, the decisions were made yesterday. I'm not revisiting them today.
They need to be revisited, and it also needs to be talked about. Subject matter jurisdiction that has yet to be proven for the record. I'm still trying to understand, Your Honor, how you made a judicial determination on my behalf, which I did not give consent to, as you say, I forfeited my right to testify, which I never did. I never said I wanted to. I never said I didn't want to, but that decision was made for me. Also, the decision for the defense to rest its case was made for me, which I did not consent to, nor did I say I was ready to rest, or nor did I say I was ready to rest. I'm trying to understand how all these decisions are being made without my consent, without me waiving any rights. I'm not understanding how, because none of my answers were unresponsive. I just didn't answer the way that Your Honor wanted me to answer. But I stressed yesterday, if I don't understand something, how am I supposed to answer a question that I don't understand fundamentally? It's not me saying yes or no. And it's not me saying, okay, I want to waive this or that right. And I'm not trying to make an argument with you in any way. I'm just seeking to understand how these decisions are made. If I'm letting the court know and I'm putting the court on notice, hey, I don't understand this or I don't understand that.
Any other things? Otherwise, I'm prepared to address each one of those.
Yeah. There was a mention of if there is a conviction in this matter, there is a mention of sentencing, which I'm assuming there'll be some type of people may want to speak. I know if there is a conviction on my half, people would definitely want to address the court. There'll be a lot of affairs that need to be put in order, obviously on my side. If it pleases the court, if there is a conviction in this matter, I would like the sentencing to not be so quick. I'm asking if it pleases the court for the sentencing to be held off into a later time, not a day or two or a week, just so that the affairs can be put in order properly, and so that the people that want to come in and speak will have the opportunity to address the court.
I think
If
that's a
that
fair
pleases,
request, sir.
if that pleases.
I think that's a fair request. I thought about that some more overnight, that in the event there is a conviction, that I would like to give the parties an opportunity to do that. I have no idea how many people would want to speak. My inclination would be, again, and this is not set in stone, if there is a conviction on any of these counts, I may ask the parties to just come back in on Monday, October 31st, with kind of a proposed plan of how many people do you think will speak on your behalf? How long do you think it will take? So that I can look at my calendar and then set aside the appropriate amount of time. I certainly don't want to rush anything, and I think that's a fair request that you're making.
Thank you.
All right. So with all of that then, sir, subject matter jurisdiction, I decline to address that further. I stand by the written decision that I've made previously. As far as the rulings made yesterday regarding your ability or inability to present further testimony and witnesses and to testify yourself, the court did make various rulings and findings that you had forfeited your right to do so by conduct. I'm not going to further explain the law or these prior rulings to you. I stand behind them, and I believe I made a very, very clear record. So to the extent that you are asking me to reconsider any of that, that's how I would interpret your statements here today. I decline to do so.
So, Your Honor, would that be, that's still not, I have no understanding to why I wasn't given the opportunity to place certain things into evidence. I have virtually nothing, zero evidence that I was able to place into evidence, nothing.
I disagree with that, sir. You called, I think, 9 witnesses on your behalf on various issues, including the honking of the horn, the window tinting. You cross-examined many of the state's witnesses about police barricades and the presence of police. So you did present evidence.
I'm speaking to the terms of everything that Your Honor asked me to do. You told me to put everything that I needed to present to the courts in writing. You made that ruling. You told me that's what I needed to do. I did that.
Mr. Brooks, you may have interpreted that. I did not require you to do that. As far as evidence in the case, I very expressly told you there are rules of procedure and rules of evidence that govern exhibits, testimony, witnesses, etc. What I told you is that any requests that you have related to the case, if it's a motion, be put in writing. I specifically referenced the statute 80201 regarding how a motion is made and what it should contain, meaning it has a very express request for relief and states the law and the facts upon which the request is being made. Again, I'm not going to revisit the prior rulings. I stand behind them. And to the extent that the record does not have, meaning the record before the jury and the evidence does not have certain pieces of information, evidence, or testimony that you wanted to present, you forfeited that opportunity yesterday based upon your conduct.
How did I forfeit the opportunity?
Again, I'm not going to revisit that, sir. What I will tell you is this.
How did I forfeit
This
the
jury is
opportunity
here.
to be able to place into evidence?
Mr. Brooks, I'm not going to debate this further.
I'm not trying to debate. I'm trying to
to
understand.
respect the fact that I've made rulings.
Your Honor, that's you
It's
made
not
a
my
judicial
job to
determination.
explain them
You made
to
it.
you.
I'm not asking you to explain anything. You're misinterpreting what I'm trying to ask you and trying to tell you. You're misinterpreting it. With all due respect, Your Honor. When you tell me this is what you need to do, I'm going to take it by what you're telling me that I need to do. If I needed to make anything request-wise or anything that I needed to present to the court, it has to be in writing. You told me to do that. I did it. You also brought up when I asked numerous times before when would I have a chance to present things into evidence, you told me we were not at the evidentiary phase of the trial yet. So I took that as saying, okay, well, at some point I will have the opportunity to place things in the evidence that need to be put in evidence for the record. So I'm not understanding how a decision can be made for me to actually forfeit being able to put things into the record that need to be placed into the record. All these things are things that, quite frankly, allow me to put on a defense. Things that need to be known, things that should be in the record, as far as filings, as far as ICFs that I was told to by you to address certain ICFs either to you or to the clerk of courts, which I did, and received copies for all of them except until last week. It was a few of them that I didn't receive copies for that I'm still wondering why I haven't received those copies when I received the copies of all the ones before that. But in terms of that, I did what Your Honor asked me to do. And these are things that are part of my defense that needed to be placed into the record. So where my confusion comes in is not being able to place those things into the record. Things
Mr.
that
Brooks,
things that clearly help my defense.
I stand by my ruling. I'm not revisiting it. To the extent that you claim lack of understanding or your lack of consent, it's been made abundantly clear on this record, your position on that. I'm not revisiting it. I'm further advising you that when this jury comes out, I expect that you will honor the decisions that were made, not agree, but you will honor them and not interrupt the court or these proceedings as I instruct the jury.
So how am I supposed to put these things in the record that need to be in the record?
Mr. Brooks, I'm well aware of the effect my ruling had, and I'm not going to debate it with you further.
I just want to know, how am I supposed to get these things on the record? How am I supposed to, because the filings that I gave, you actually filed and gave me the copies back. So are those in the record?
Mr. Brooks,
I'm just seeking to understand. I'm just seeking to understand.
Mr. Brooks, I cannot explain procedure or evidence.
The filings that I filed.
Rulings or
I'm asking a question, Your Honor.
you.
I'm merely asking a question. The filings that I presented to Your Honor.
Any filings with this court are in the court record. That does not mean they're evidence, sir. And I told you
that's not what I'm asking. I'm asking, are the filings part of the record? The filings that were filed and timestamped, that were notarized, that I presented to the court, all the filings, the appearance bonds, the statement of particulars, the notice of special appearance, the court docket sheet, your oath of office, everything that I tried to present into the record. How am I not able to make them part of the record?
So they were filed because you presented them to the court during the course of this case. Anything that was not offered as an exhibit and received during the evidentiary phase is not evidence in this trial.
That's what I attempted to do, and you told me that I couldn't. You told me,
Mr. Brooks, I am bringing this jury
Your Honor,
out.
with all respect, you told me that we were not at the evidence. When I said I have exhibits as well, I have stuff that I want to put into the record. I even asked, I said,
Mr. Brooks,
may I give an offer into evidence?
I'm going to stop you once again. I'm not going to have this discussion and debate. The evidentiary phase of this trial is
Sounds like a
closed.
debate.
It
We
should
are
not
now
be though,
at the
Your Honor.
jury. I understand your lack of consent. Your
So
objection
when would I
is
be able to
noted
put?
for the
When would
record.
I be able to put vital information into the record, which I haven't had the opportunity to do?
That opportunity has closed for you, sir.
So you saying basically you're prejudicing my defense by me not being able to present things into evidence, offer into evidence, filings and important paperwork and documents.
Mr. Brooks, and you
How am I
forfeited
not-
your right to do that by your conduct yesterday, and I stand behind that decision.
I
I'm going to
asked
do the
before
following,
yesterday,
sir.
Your Honor.
I'm going
I
to do
asked
the
this before
following.
yesterday.
You have not honored my request to you that you cease debating me on prior rulings
I'm not trying to
of the
debate.
court.
I'm trying to understand why my due process is being violated.
Mr. Brooks, the record speaks for itself.
No, the
I
record
am
does
going
not.
to take
It
a
does not.
5-minute recess. When I come back out, the jury will
She's had
also
enough
be coming
already.
out. I'm advising you
She needs to go warm up her coffee.
there will be no multiple opportunities where I give you to conform your conduct to the rules of decorum.
Well, then
courtesy.
just hold me in
You-
contempt, then, Your Honor.
You are
Hold me in
hereby
contempt because
advised
I didn't even. I'm trying
that
to
if
seek to
you start
understand.
talking about subject matter jurisdiction or any of these other
It
issues,
needs to be addressed,
or
Your
in
Honor.
any way
We're not talking
interrupt
about subject matter
the
jurisdiction. We're
reading of
talking
the jury
about
instructions,
why my due process
I
has been
will excuse
violated.
the jury and you will be removed
Your
to
Honor,
the other courtroom.
We're talking about the 14th Amendment,
Right.
Section
I'm
1.
taking a 5-minute break. We are
Your
in
Honor, I
recess.
don't
When
agree
come
to a
back out, the
estoppel.
jury
I
will be
don't agree
coming
to
as
a
well.
estoppel. Your Honor, as
Oh, estoppel. Hi, Dr. On Call. How are you? For someone who doesn't understand anything, sure understands a lot. Estoppel. He threw out a big word, estoppel. Did you see an interview someone did with her a while back? She said he needed meds. Yeah, I saw that interview. And she said that she predicted that this was the way it was going to go, that it would be, that he would be off the rails, that yeah. Because, I mean, she knows her son. She's ready to send him next door. Yeah, I think so. Good. I hope you are well. I am well, thanks. Yeah, another day in paradise, right? Yeah, so I will not be doing a regular show today because we're going to be in and out of here. So based on what she said this morning, I anticipate she's going to be doing a lot of reading. Here's what I think is going to happen. She's going to, at some point, she's going to try to bring this jury in. That's the first thing she's going to do. He's going to be off his rocker. She's going to excuse the jury, send him into the other courtroom, bring the jury back, put him on mute, and start reading. It's quite lengthy what she has to read. And she anticipates that it will take us to lunchtime with her because she has to read, oh God, every single charge. And the law that goes with those charges. So I don't think closings are going to happen till after lunch. So what I may do, once she starts reading uninterrupted, because he'll be in the other courtroom, he'll be muted. He'll be in his box fort or whatever that is. And I'll probably stop the feed and just restart it after lunch when they come back, probably 1 or 1:30. Because I don't want to make this too long. So we'll see what happens when she comes back from the 5-minute break. Once she gets into the reading of all of the information, I think I'm going to cut the feed, the live feed, and we'll do a part 2. Everybody good with that? Yay. Okay. So when we come back, though, make sure you got something to work on. Maybe you got a diamond painting or a crochet project or a cross stitch project or whatever it is you're working on, because nothing better, nothing more entertaining than watching Darrell Brooks. What is too long anymore? Oh my God, I know. Doctor on Call. Yeah, it can be, sometimes these things can be lengthy. I've had my lives go several hours. I know there's some people who do lives that are just like overnight. Oh yeah, I can't even. I just first of all, my bladder doesn't last that long, and neither does my attention span, quite frankly. Um, I got other things to do. I have a life, but well, not much of one right now, but it is what it is. So the government seems to want to hold me hostage. I've been stopped, a stopple by the government. Where's my cat today? Stitch, where are you? Stitch, kitty. Oh my God, it got cold last night after that rain moved through. I'm here in Wichita. After the rain moved through, it was really cool outside. Let me go grab my cell phone. Now, if you guys want me to stay on while she's reading all that, I'm happy to do that. I don't mind. It's really up to you guys. Or I can end this while she's reading all that, because it does kind of get boring after a little while, because she'll just be reading the same thing over and over again. I don't remember where I got the phone. Oh, and to see what temperature is. 44 degrees. Yeah. I went walking in my this is a really comfortable pullover. It's really soft and warm, but not out in 42-degree weather. I should have worn a jacket. Oh well. But you know what I need to do? Oh my goodness. Just between you and I need some lotion on my hands. Crafting and cold weather don't mix well, especially with your fingers. The yarn, like when I start a yarn project, it just dries my hands out even more. Oh, I don't have to. Okay. Thank you, Melody. Melody's she's in charge. Thank you, Melody. I know we have some people watching and not chatting, and that's fine. That's fine. Thank you for coming. If you are new to the channel, please consider subscribing. Hit the notification bell so you don't miss a single episode of Crafting and Crime Daily. I usually have each episode up around noon. There won't be an episode today because of this live. And then if you don't know, I have a second YouTube channel called The Leftovers. The link to that should be down in the description. If it's not, I'll put it in there later. Melody said it'll be too long and boring. She may not even finish reading it until after lunch. It just depends on, everything depends on Darrell and, his mannerisms. The rain just is keeping the tourists out of Salem today. Oh, okay. I agree. Yarn really dries out my hands. It does. And like, I'm just getting over like a thumb crack. Crafters are the only people who would know about this, the thumb crack, because it's very painful. I used to have this stuff that you could put on it, like a wet Band-Aid, to help if you want to continue to craft with, cracks in your thumb. Anyway, I picked up this really cool coconut oil, and I like the way it really works well. Forgot to put the thing on top of it. I think it's from Bath and Body Works. Yeah, Bath and Body Works. Somebody just texted me. Who was it? Who was it? Oh, my pharmacy. Should they fill my prescriptions? Oh, sure. Why wouldn't you fill my prescriptions? Because I don't have insurance. They want to make sure they're going to get paid. Her 5-minute break is turning into a 15-minute break. That's always the way it is. I'm going to go run, heat up my coffee. Be back in 2 seconds. Or 3.
Seated, the jury is.
Your Honor, it has yet to be proven for the record. And upon your refusal, that would be looked at as dishonor.
I'm not addressing it. The jury's coming out.
So is that a tacit agreement that you don't have to answer any questions as a public servant, Your Honor? Therefore, that's dishonor. Are you going to honor your oath of office?
Stand. I'm not addressing it further.
Are you going to honor your oath of office?
All rise.
Oh, he's at it again.
So I'll take that as a tacit agreement that you're not going to honor your
All
oath
right,
of
I'm
office.
going to have to excuse the jury.
Did I predict this or what? She was going to bring him in and then send him out.
Mr. Brooks, I warned you that if you made any interruptions when they came out, you would be removed to the courtroom. That's what I'm doing right now. You're forfeiting your right to be present in this courtroom unless you can promise me right now you'll respect prior rulings of this court and not interrupt this next phase of the trial, which is the court reading the jury instructions without interruption from you. Can you do that?
Have I acted in dishonor, Your Honor?
Mr. Brooks, I very expressly warned you.
Have I acted in dishonor?
You have disobeyed a direct order from this court.
Have I acted in dishonor?
You have disrupted these proceedings.
I have not disrupted these proceedings.
Sir, can you pledge to me that when this jury comes back out, that you will remain silent and not reference things like subject matter jurisdiction, the court's oath of office, tacit agreements, or anything? Can you pledge that you will respect these proceedings and this jury by not interrupting?
Have I acted in dishonor, Your Honor?
I will ask you one more time. Can you pledge to be quiet, sir?
Why should I have to make a pledge, Your Honor? Have I acted in dishonor?
Because under Illinois versus Allen, I believe you've already forfeited your right to be here, but you can reclaim that as soon as you are willing to conduct yourself consistently with the decorum and respect inherent in these proceedings, which at this point in the proceedings, sir, all I am doing is reading through the final jury instructions. I do not want that process interrupted by statements by you that are frankly misstatements of the law.
If they're misstatements of the law, Your Honor, how come they haven't been proven for the record? And I'm asking, have
All
I
right,
acted
he
in
refuses
dishonor?
to answer the
Have I
questions.
acted in dishonor,
I have given
Your Honor?
him an ample opportunity to do so. He has forfeited his right to be present for the reading of the jury instructions, and he is to be removed to the neighboring courtroom. We will be in recess until that takes place.
Your Honor,
Thank you.
have I acted in dishonor?
That's because I had it on mute. Hi, Sherry. Okay, so here's what's going to happen. During part of these jury instructions, she is going to instruct the jury that they need to come back tomorrow because I don't think they're going to begin deliberations today. I think she's going to read all of this stuff. They're going to do closings, which are going to be really interesting. And so she will be telling the jury to come back tomorrow with an overnight bag because they will be sequestered during their deliberations. I don't think they're going to need to be sequestered. I think it's an open shut case. I don't think it's going to take them long to decide guilt or innocent. The only lengthy part is that they have to go through all of these verdict forms and make sure that they're filling them out correctly. That's the whole length of the jury deliberation, if you ask me. There are 3 alternates. The alternates will know who they are by the end of the day today. Probably they will not be released. They will be asked to come back as well with an overnight bag. They will be held in a different secure location, just in case during the deliberations one of the regular jurors falls ill. So sorry about being on mute. I'm trying not to like do the heavy breathing thing when I'm watching the Darrell. The kitty's back. I don't know if you can see him. Stitch is here with us. Yeah, he's a cutie. Let's see. There he is. He's in his little bed that I made him. He said, I like my little bed because it's cold outside. Yeah. Hi, buddy. Hi, buddy. Yeah. So, hi, Lois. Good morning. We are, what's happening now is we're waiting for Darrell to be escorted to the banishment courtroom so he can hide in his box fort during the reading of the jury instructions because he could not conduct himself with decorum this morning. That she tried to bring the jury in and he kept interrupting. He kept saying, "Do we have a tacit agreement? What the hell?"
Thank you, everyone. Please be seated. The record should reflect that Mr.
Okay.
Brooks has been placed in the other courtroom.
She's back.
A record. I do need to confirm that the audio and visual equipment and system is working. I am getting a thumbs up from the bailiff. I'll just ask Madam Clerk to confirm with the clerk that's over there as well. I would note Mr. Brooks has the headphones on. This court certainly doesn't take pleasure in removing Mr. Brooks from this courtroom once again. We are at an important stage of this proceeding where the court needs to instruct the jury concerning all of the law that will guide them in their deliberations. As I've put on the record previously, the total pages comes to 107. I will be reading this morning through page 73 prior to the parties given the opportunity to make closing arguments.
It's like a novel
Reading from page
or Stephen King short story.
Following that, it is very important that the court do this without interruption. Yesterday, this court held a jury instruction conference where both parties had a full and fair opportunity to raise objections regarding any of the proposed jury instructions, to make requests regarding inclusion of any jury instructions that the court did not include, as well as review all of the verdict forms. There's absolutely no reason for there to be an interruption or an objection to this process at this time. The court spent the better part of 25 minutes this morning with Mr. Brooks raising issues and prior rulings that this court has spent an abundant amount of time on, including subject matter jurisdiction. He continues to claim he did not consent. That's been noted for the record. He continues to claim that he has a limited or no understanding of prior rulings and decisions of this court. I repeatedly advised him I would not be revisiting these issues, that I wanted to go forward with the jury instructions, and repeatedly warned him that any interruption once the jury came out would result in his removal from the courtroom. Again, I take no pleasure in doing that. I prefer that he be here, but frankly, the decision I made here today, with the speed at which I made the decision here today, is not only to preserve the dignity of these proceedings, but to do so in a way that avoided the court admonishing Mr. Brooks in front of the jury. This, of course, comes on the history in this case with the repeated removals that this court has had to undertake with Mr. Brooks, given his conduct and his behavior in this case. I am currently being advised that he would like to come back. That, of course, is always something that I will give him. As soon as I make my full findings, I will pause and he will be brought back into this courtroom so that he can be in attendance when the jury is brought
This
out.
is going to go back and forth and back and forth.
Of course, my decision that I made this morning to
God.
remove him is based on the authority from Illinois versus Allen. I'd also note that State versus Anthony talks about the Allen decision along with State versus Vaughn. Those are two state court decisions. Clearly, even though Mr. Brooks was using a mild-mannered tone of voice, he directly disobeyed the court order that he not interrupt once the jury was brought out. He did that immediately upon the first juror walking in. I believe only a few of the jurors even walked in. He was continuing to talk. I immediately removed them from the courtroom to minimize the impact of his disruption. It was clearly disruptive, but again, he is asking to come back, and I will honor that request. I will further advise him, though, that should he interrupt during the jury instruction phase of this trial by either objecting or raising
it's going to take
issues,
at least 2 to
that
3
have no
hours, maybe
bearing
more.
on the advisement
She's got
to the
over
jury by
100
this
pages
court
she
of
has
all
to
of the jury
read.
instructions, I will consider admonishing him in the presence of the jury or simply removing the jury so that then
My
I can
plan
admonish
is
him
once
and
she
then
gets
making the
into a
appropriate
rhythm and
record.
she's got him
All
on
right,
mute
with that,
somehow,
since
and
he's asking to come
he's
back, we will
agreed to
take
start
a pause.
listening,
We'll recess. We'll come
and
back
she's
in when he
reading
is safe in
the
this
instructions,
courtroom.
I'm
Thank you,
going to
everyone.
cut the live feed, and come back after lunch, because I don't want you guys to have to just sit through the boring reading of the jury instructions. But I whenever he requests to come back, she really has to let him do it. So I just can't see that he's going to stay in the courtroom and conduct himself appropriately. He's probably going to mouth off. We're going to have to wait while he's removed yet again. This is crazy. He's doing all this to delay the proceedings. I really feel sorry for whatever appellate person gets this case and has to read through all this nonsense to see if there's any true appellate issues. Hi, baby. Hi, honey. She'll bring him in, then she'll ask him, are you willing to conduct yourself with decorum when I bring in the jury? That means, cannot interrupt or say anything. And he'll start mouthing off. Or maybe he won't. Maybe his meds have kicked in. I don't know. She did mention yesterday when she was trying to go through the defense litany of whether he should testify or not, that her understanding is he's not on any medication at the jail. So we'll see. Maybe somebody could slip him a Xanax. just to calm him down. So I don't know if you guys watched yesterday, but he started the morning off by mentioning, or somehow during his litany or his diatribe, he was mentioning that there was a recall of the Ford vehicles for something wrong with the acceleration. And that's what he wants the jury to know. And that's assumes facts not in evidence. And he wanted that put into evidence, and that's why he's upset because it didn't get put into evidence. I think he was going to try to put it in through the testimony of his mother. That did not end up happening because of his behavior. So he could have also, and the judge told him he could have also brought that information in by way of cross-examination of the person that inspected his vehicle. Sorry, excuse me. But he didn't do that. Good morning, Lisa. How you doing, sweetie? How is it? How cold is it up there in Alaska this morning? It's 40 something here. That's why I'm sneezing. Oh, sorry, I gotta blow my nose. And it's kind of interesting because he made an argument yesterday.
Thank you, everyone. Please be seated. I'll have the jury brought out then.
All right, well, here we go. Let's watch.
We are
Let's watch.
all back in this courtroom.
Before the jury's brought out, can we address subject matter jurisdiction?
There we go. Subject matter
Before the
jurisdiction.
jury's brought out,
Absolutely not.
is that a tacit agreement that you don't have to answer those questions as a public servant, Your Honor? So are you going to act in dishonor?
Mr. Brooks,
Are you going to act in
I've
dishonor?
already addressed your requests.
Bailiff, don't get comfortable. You're not going to sit there for long.
The jury is on its way,
They're not out yet, though.
but they're on the
You
way.
held me in contempt.
I'm not
You held me in
addressing these
contempt
matters,
before.
sir.
Have I acted in dishonor, Your Honor? You held me in contempt without me being in dishonor. How have I dishonored the court? Have I acted in dishonor? Have I rose my voice or argued with Your Honor? Have I disrupted the
Mr.
courtroom
Brooks,
in
you're
any way?
back in this courtroom at your request. The jury is coming
I
out.
never should have
Please
been.
be respectful of their time.
I
and of this
have
process
been. They weren't
and
even
the
out
dignity
before.
of the proceedings.
They weren't even out before when I was trying to address what needed to be
Mr.
addressed
Brooks.
before they came out.
You're just
Am I
attempting
acting
to
in
disrupt the
dishonor?
proceedings.
Am I acting in dishonor? So that's a tacit
All
agreement
rise
that you
for the
don't.
jury, please.
It's a tacit agreement that you don't have to answer questions as a public servant,
All
right?
right, the jury.
No
is
jury's
not
out.
Mr. Brooks.
No jury's
close the
out.
door.
I was trying to
Mr.
address
Brooks,
this
they are
before they
right
came out.
outside this door. I am not going to do this with you this morning. You either
I'm not
abide by
doing-
these rules
Am I
and
acting in
stay
dishonor?
quiet,
Am
or
I
you will
acting
be
in
in the other
dishonor?
courtroom.
Am I acting in dishonor?
Yes, you are acting.
How?
in
I would just
dishonor.
help
You are
shut your
disobeying the
mouth.
direct order of this court to respect the decorum and the dignity of these proceedings. You are merely attempting to delay.
I don't care what you think. That's not accurate.
Mr. Brooks, I am having this jury out. And if you
you're
say
making
one word when that door
you're
opens,
making a tacit agreement.
then you will forfeit your right to be present.
So you're acting in dishonor, then, Your Honor.
All right, the jury may come in.
You're acting in dishonor by making a tacit agreement that you don't have to answer any questions as a public servant. You're not holding up to your oath to protect the
All right, the
Constitution.
door is open and he's talking.
Okay, so you're gonna hold me in
All right.
contempt?
The jury cannot come in. Never mind.
Are you gonna hold
All
me
right.
in contempt?
Mr. Brooks is going to be removed. We're in recess until that.
How
can be
am I acting in dishonor?
Here we go. I predicted this. This is crazy. Oh my God. She cannot keep doing this. She can't. She's just got to leave him over there and mute him. She really doesn't want this to be overturned, an overturned conviction based on, any of her rulings or it's crazy. Does he think that if he gets held in contempt, he will win on appeal? At no time has she ever held him in contempt. If she actually held him in contempt, that would serve to delay the proceedings. I mean, she would have to sentence him, and it just, oh my God. Although she could hold him in contempt and then deal with it afterwards, but it's just a further delay tactic. And she's never held him in contempt. She always makes a record and cites the law that she based her decision on for removing him from the courtroom. He keeps asking her to do that. Removing him isn't being held in contempt. No, it's not. Lisa just sent me her weather forecast. 100% chance of snow. Oh my God. Brr. But we could build a snowman. Yeah. Wow. 21, 25, 18, 14, 18, 18, 14, 13, 17, 17 degrees. It is cold out there. The high today where Lisa is will be 32 degrees. That is build a snowman weather. I've been playing too much Disney Dreamlight Valley. With Elsa and Anna and Kristoff, we could build a snowman. I have built snowmen actually in the game. I have 3 snowmen, a mom and a dad and a child snowman. Yeah. I did. I know this judge, man. When this whole thing is over, she is going to be so relieved. Hi, Melissa B. Crap with me. How you doing, sweetie? Good morning. Thankfully, I have snuggly scarves and hats. Yes, you do. But no gloves, and that's my fault. Haven 302, 63 here this morning. Where are you, Haven? Sherry says it's balmy 30 degrees in beautiful Loveland, Colorado. Yeah, it was 47 degrees when I walked the dogs this morning, and I was a bit chilly. I should have worn I had this, pullover on, and I figured it was warm enough, but I was wrong. No socks, just, I'm crazy. I know. Oh, Haven's in Southern Kentucky. I lived in Kentucky once upon a time. When I was a child. I think I was maybe 7 years old when I lived in Kentucky, because that's where my brother was born.
Thank you, everyone.
Knox,
please be seated.
Kentucky.
We are back on. The record appearances are as they were before. The record to reflect that Mr. Brooks is now in the other courtroom. I currently have him muted so that I can add.
Lisa, you're sweet. Record. I will send you the gloves, though.
I have confirmed he can hear and see as well. I would note he does have the headphones on while in that courtroom. He just lifted them up as well.
Yeah, this is where he wanted to be. Oh, now he wants to say
this
something.
Court has previously relied upon the U.S. Supreme Court case of Illinois versus Allen, wherein the
he wants to make a record. Are you going to rule on subject matter jurisdiction
of the criminal justice, that dignity, order, and decorum be the hallmarks of all court proceedings in our country? The flagrant disregard in the courtroom of elementary standards of proper conduct should not and cannot be tolerated. We believe trial judges confronted with disruptive, contemptuous, stubbornly defiant defendants must be given sufficient discretion to meet the circumstances of each case. No one formula for maintaining the appropriate courtroom atmosphere will be best in all situations. We think there are at least 3 constitutionally permissible ways for a trial judge to handle such a defendant, including 1, bind and gag him, thereby keeping him present; 2, cite him for contempt;
let's bind and gag him.
Take him out of the courtroom until he promises to conduct himself properly. I understand Mr. Brooks is waving to the court. I'll address that momentarily. But the bottom line is there is a history of repeated disruptive behavior by Mr. Brooks. I warned him after he came back in. The first thing he wanted to do was address subject matter jurisdiction. That is, from my perspective, simply a tactic on his part to delay these proceedings, to disrupt these proceedings.
Can you imagine the jury now? They've walked down this long hallway twice.
Written decision. He has that right to file an interlocutory
And then
appeal. I would also
then there'll be a
note
third
at
time.
no time during this case has jurisdiction ever been challenged when he was represented by an attorney.
I'd love to see him bound
So
and
I
gagged.
warned him,
chained
given the
to the
importance of
chair.
proceedings and the need for the court to advise this jury
Melissa
without
said she'll
interruption. He was
supply
removed
the
once again. I
findings.
will not bring him back into this courtroom unless he is willing and pledges to conform his conduct and pledge to not interrupt by making any statements when this jury is present and during the court reading all of the jury instructions.
This pledges mean
I
nothing.
will unmute him so that he can indicate what he would like to say to the court. You are unmuted, sir. Go ahead.
Can y'all hear me?
We can.
First of all, at 9:25, I would like the record to reflect that the prosecution was making disparative remarks and gestures in pursuant to what just happened. I don't appreciate it, and I think that that is very disrespectful. For the record. And again, I'm trying to figure out, how did I act in dishonor to be removed from the courtroom? How have I acted in dishonor? This is a whole nother. How have I acted in dishonor?
All right, I'm going to mute Mr. Brooks. I'm not going to answer that question. I've made my ruling as far as anything that was done by the prosecution. I was not in the courtroom.
I think he was on the debate team in high school.
Whatever happened, if
Mickey, you
anything
did
at
not
all,
miss much. We
was
have
done
gone
outside
back
the
and
presence
forth
of
and back
the
and forth.
jury.
In the
If
one
there is
courtroom and
anything
in
the
the other
state wants to
courtroom.
put on
In
the
one
record right
courtroom and
now,
the
I'll
other
give you
courtroom.
that opportunity. Otherwise,
Right now he's
I
in
am going to bring
his
the
own
jury
private
out, Mr.
courtroom.
Brooks. If you want to come back into this courtroom, you need to write your request down on a piece of paper. And when you do that, pledge to this court that you will not interrupt these proceedings.
This will be the third time the jury has marched
bring you
down
back into
this
courtroom.
corridor that they have to go to get to the courtroom. There he goes, waving his hands again.
Anything the state wants to put on the record.
I have a question, Your Honor. I don't have anything directly in response to Mr. Brooks' last statement.
All right, go ahead.
Yesterday afternoon, when we had the 4-screen up, there was a wider view of the courtroom so that the jury box could be seen. Is that possible to do again?
Yes, it is. We can take the witness stand camera and pull it out so that he has a view of the jury box as well. I can't angle it, but I can do that.
And for the record, when you do that, then he can see the jury box. So I would ask that that be done before we.
Please do that, Madam Clerk. Well, it's not on Zoom, and so
we don't
court TV
expect
would
a
be able
verdict
to
till
fix the
tomorrow
camera
at the
on
very
me
soon,
and not on the
very
screen,
least.
so that they don't capture any of the jurors. And they're
She's going to bring the
directly
jury
to
out,
him.
and she's going to start
Same-
reading jury
same thing,
instructions
obviously,
with
with our
him on
still
mute. Finally,
photographer.
the jury
If
instructions
there
are
any
over
images
100
captured of Mr.
pages.
Brooks,
So once she
and you
gets
can see
into
the
a rhythm
cameras
of
being
reading
zoomed
jury
out,
instructions,
you would need
I'm
to
going to cut
avoid
this feed,
capturing
and we'll
members
come
of the
back
jury.
after lunch for the closing arguments.
Thank you, Your Honor. And the record should reflect you have zoomed out the camera, and it looks
Right.
like about 90% of the jury box can now be seen in the view if Mr. Brooks chooses to
Right.
do that.
Mr. Brooks, I'll unmute. What is it you would like the court to address?
Okay, she's on recess. I think I'm back. Can you guys see me? See me, hear me, touch me. No, don't touch me, please. All right, let's see if we can. She took breaks before she's going to bring the jury out. I'm sure she's like, maybe she's going for the Xanax. I don't know. We'll see. Let me pull the share screen up. Let's go full screen. There we go. Okay, so like I said, here's what my plan is. Once she gets into a rhythm, she's reading instructions. Once we've heard them once or twice, because she'll be repeating them over and over again for each charge. They're over 100 pages long. It will take her several hours to read them, which will take us into the lunch hour. I'm going to cut the feed after she gets into a rhythm, and I will say goodbye in the chat and here, and then I will come back for part 2 after lunch, which will be around 1:00. That way everybody can do whatever they need to do, run some errands, freshen up their coffee, and we'll be back after lunch. But let's just see how this goes. Her poor baby, I'm sure it's feeling all the stress. Yeah, I don't know how far along she is, but this cannot be healthy for her at all. Not at all. Oh, whoa. Best adult dating site. Can one of my mods boot that out of there? Yeah. Wow. Mickey, I know you're eating your sandwich, but I need you to boot these people. Thank you, my dear. Now, Mickey, why didn't you bring me any Taco Bell? I didn't know Taco Bell served breakfast. What did she say she's eating it from Taco Bell? Bacon, egg, and cheese and hash brown from Taco Bell? Seriously? You'll have to tell me how that is because I've never had breakfast at Taco Bell. Lisa reported them. Thank you. Because I don't need an adult dating site. I'm not. No, thank you. And crispy hash browns. Yeah, nice. No, oh, the cat turned off my light pad. Kitty, you're on my light pad. Okay. I think, I was almost done with this color. A little spicy. Well, of course, it's Taco Bell. Although it's been my experience that you have to add the spice for Taco Bell. They serve things kind of mild and then you have to put the sauce on it. You know what I'm in the mood for? A Wendy's baked potato. Like not right now, but maybe for dinner. That would be delicious. I haven't had one in a while. Half the time I go there for a baked potato and they're like, oh, we're sold out. How do you sell out of one of your most popular items? But they do. Or they'll say, they're not going to be ready for another hour or whatever. Could you just drive around? Nope. So I'm working on the black lab here this morning. Yep. Oh, you had Wendy's yesterday, Lois. Nice. Did you have a baked potato or chili? Ooh, the chili would be so good right now. Oh, I want to make chili. I got pork chops out for dinner, but chili sounds really good with this weather. It's usually not this spicy. Oh. She had the chili. Yum. Try not to disturb the cat. He's sleeping. Can y'all see him? He's right here. Under the crafting journey sign, there's a cat. Wendy's chili rocks. It does. It is good. But so does my homemade chili. And apparently Mickey makes a good chili as well. She was talking about it on her live last Friday. I think everybody was talking about chili last Friday on her live. Oh, I see two that I missed. How did I miss those? Oh my goodness. Where did I just put those? Right here. Don't you hate when you miss something? Your grandson loves Wendy's. Plus, I had some coupons. Oh, coupons are always helpful. Yep. That would be the hard part about going to prison. No more Wendy's, no more McDonald's, no more frappes, no more double cheeseburgers, no more chili, no more baked potatoes. He's just going to get prison food for the rest of his life. Yep. Now, what symbol was this? Oh, okay. No more pizza. Well, I guess somebody might make prison pizza. I have no idea. I'm looking for this symbol somewhere else before I put it away. Boy, she's taking a long break. I hope she's okay. I think she's just frustrated. I wonder if she's like consulting with a legal advisor or something. You know, I wonder if they have that option where they can consult with other legal scholars about whether she's doing the right thing or not. You wonder who will speak on Brooke's behalf next week. Well, it won't be next week. What they're going to do, Lois, is they're going to come back on the 31st, Monday. And at that point, they're going to have a discussion about who each side wants to have speak and how long that may take. And then the judge is going to look at her calendar and pick a date in the future when this will take place. So I don't anticipate sentencing till probably sometime in the end of November or mid-November. Hi, Blunts and Gems. How are you? Haven says, I love the chili, chips, and cheese. Delicious. I don't like that runny cheese that they have. I just think that's disgusting. The taco salad is the best. Fresh salad, chili, and corn chips. Yeah. Listen, guys, I have not had breakfast. I know. So, and my nose is all stuffed up. So, if you're just joining us, Jarrell has been removed from the courtroom for a second time this morning in the judge's attempt to bring out the jury and begin reading jury instructions. This has been going on since 8:30 this morning, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. At this point, he is in the second courtroom, and the judge just wanted to take a very quick, well, it's not quick now, a quick break before she brings the jury in for the third time. Can you imagine the jury's sitting there, they're drinking their coffee, they're chit-chatting about whatever, they're not allowed to talk about the case. They're chit-chatting and the bailiff says, okay, we're ready for you. And you get up and you can't bring your coffee into the courtroom, so you pour it out and you march down the hallway and only to be told, okay, nope, you're going back. Then the bailiff comes back 10 minutes later and says, okay, they're ready for you. And you march down the hallway, and then they change their mind and they send them back. I'd be so pissed off as a juror. Honest to God. I threw my freaking cup of coffee away for this jerk because he can't behave himself. They know what's going on. You know they do. Luckily, I'm at home and I can just heat my coffee up. So that is where we're at. Thank you, everyone who is watching. Even if you're not chatting, welcome to Crafting and Crime Daily. If you are new to the channel, please consider subscribing. And don't forget to hit the notification bell because you don't want to miss a single episode of my daily Crafting and Crime show. Diamond Queen says, I hope everyone's doing well today and everyone is healthy. I will hopefully test negative for Rona today. Fiance is doing good, so we should both be fine by the end of the week. Well, okay, Diamond Queen. That's positive thinking. I like that. I'm cozy in bed. Too early for food. I don't like to eat breakfast right when I get up because you've got to take I take thyroid medicine, and so you can't eat. You have to take that on an empty stomach, and then but I do have my coffee after I walk the dogs, and I get dressed, walk the dogs, do all that stuff, and then I sit down and have coffee, and then usually after I record the show, then I'll eat some breakfast. So they are not sequestered yet. Part of the instructions that she's going to read this morning will tell them that when they leave tonight, because they're not going to start deliberating tonight. The way this is going, it's just not going to happen. Because once these closing arguments start, Darrell is just going to be off the rails, and that should happen after lunch. But part of the instructions that she's going to read is that they need to come back tomorrow morning with an overnight bag. At that point, they will be sequestered. They will at that point know who the 3 alternates are. They will also be kept in a secure location. They will not be sent home. They need to be on standby in case one of the jurors becomes sick during deliberations. So that's what I anticipate will happen. So the verdict at the earliest would be probably sometime tomorrow. I don't think there's going to be any deliberations today. No. I'm very curious what Darrell is going to attempt to say during his closing arguments. The judge has been very specific with him about what he can and cannot talk about during his closing, and that if he attempts to talk about it, she's going to shut him down. And then she told him he will forfeit his right to do a closing. So it should be interesting, at the very least. Now, Darrell did bring up this morning the fact that he wanted additional time before the sentencing. Should he be found guilty, he wanted additional time to coordinate with his family for people who would want to speak on his behalf. I think he has a lot of out-of-town relatives who have indicated to him that they would like to speak on his behalf, and I'm sure his mother would want to speak to the public or to the jury on his behalf. Well, it wouldn't be the jury. It'd be the judge, because the jury doesn't have anything to do with it. And there is no death penalty in this particular state. So it would just be a mandatory life in prison without the possibility of parole on at least 6 counts of murder. Now, I think I think that the domestic violence charges were dropped. That the prosecution is not going forward with the domestic violence charges that he had tacked on at the end. So the charges all have to do with him driving his SUV through the Christmas parade. What could they possibly say in his defense? Well, his mother is going to say that he is mentally ill. She has said it in prior interviews that she believes her son should be medicated. She knows her son should be medicated, and he refuses to take his medication. So I think that's what she's going to say. Maybe it's ADHD. There's something about him where he's just has this inability to control his conduct. Which would speak to why, the reason why he drove through this Christmas parade. He was so angry with his girlfriend that he drove over people. I mean, he just has no ability.
Just have a time. Yes. All right, we are back on the record. Appearances are as they
I agree
were
with you,
before at
Melissa.
9:45. Mr. Brooks sent a note that says, under Illinois v. Allen, I request for the second to be present at my trial. I never consented to not being present, nor did I act in dishonor, because he has not made a pledge to conform his conduct as is required under Illinois versus Allen. He has not reclaimed his right to be present, and we will continue with him
Thank
in
God.
another room. And we'll also
I'm glad
make a
she's not going to
finding
do that
today, and I
again.
didn't do this previously, although he's forfeited his right to be present, given the technology, the audio and visual equipment that we have, the fact that we've also backed out the one camera so he can see the jurors. I'll make a finding, even without that, though, that it's the functional equivalent of being present in this courtroom. All right, with that, then the jury will be brought out. I'll remind Mr. Brooks, while he can reclaim the right to come back into the courtroom and make a request, I am going to be adamant that his request include a statement that he's willing to conduct himself consistently with the decorum and respect inherent in the concept of courts and judicial proceedings, and specifically pledge to not interrupt the reading of the jury instructions until such time he will remain in that courtroom. All right, go ahead.
He doesn't look surprised at all. Oh, he's getting ready. He's going to be waving his arms when that jury comes in. She's not saying anything, sir. He thinks it's not working because she's not saying anything. Oh, this is funny. Yesterday, he said that every time she mutes him, she also mutes herself, and that he can't hear her when he's muted, which she actually took testimony from a couple of the bailiffs that was not true, that they could hear her. Look at the size of that camera. Good God.
All rise for the jury.
What do you suppose that thing cost? Oh. He's not even standing up for the jury. That's so disrespectful. Yeah, he claims to be hard of hearing. That's why they're providing him with the headphones. They're actually coming in the room. They're going to get to sit down.
Thank you, everyone. Please be seated.
Look at all that she's got to read. Good gravy.
Members of the jury, the court will now instruct you upon the principles of law which you are to follow in considering the evidence and in reaching your verdict. It is your duty to follow all of these instructions. Regardless of any opinion you may have about what the law is or ought to be, you must base your verdict on the law I give you in these instructions. Apply that law to the facts in the case which have been properly proven by the evidence. Consider only the evidence received during this trial and the law as given to you by these instructions, and from these alone, guided by your soundest reason and best judgment, reach your verdict. If any member of the jury has an impression of my opinion as to whether the defendant is guilty or not guilty, disregard that impression entirely and decide the issues of fact solely as you view the evidence. You, the jury, are the sole judges of the facts, and the court is the judge of the law only. The defendant is charged with 6 separate counts of first-degree intentional homicide, use of a dangerous weapon. The first count of the information in this case charges that Darrell E. Brooks, on or about Sunday, November 21 of 2021, on Main Street in the city of Waukesha, Waukesha County, Wisconsin, did cause the death of Virginia Sorensen with intent to kill that person and while using a dangerous weapon, contrary to sections 940.01 sub 1 sub a, 939.50 sub 3 sub a, and 939.63 sub 1 sub b of the Wisconsin statutes. The second count of the information in this case charges that Darrell E. Brooks, on or about Sunday, November 21 of 2021, on Main Street in the city of Waukesha, Waukesha County, Wisconsin, to cause the death of Leanna Owen with intent to kill that person and while using a dangerous weapon, contrary to sections 940.01 sub 1 sub a, 939.50 sub 3 sub a, and 939.63 sub 1 sub b of the Wisconsin statutes. The third count of the information in this case charges that Darrell E. Brooks, on or about Sunday, November 21 of 2021, on Main Street in the city of Waukesha, Waukesha County, Wisconsin, to cause the death of Tamara Durand with intent to kill that person and while using a dangerous weapon, contrary to sections 940.01 sub 1 sub a, 939.50 sub 3 sub a, and 939.63 sub 1 sub b of the Wisconsin statutes. The fourth count of the information in this case charges that Darrell E. Brooks, on or about Sunday, November 21 of 2021, on Main Street in the city of Waukesha, Waukesha County, Wisconsin, did cause the death of Jane Coolidge with intent to kill that person and while using a dangerous weapon, contrary to sections 940.01 sub 1 sub a, 939.50 sub 3 sub a, and 939.63 sub 1 sub b of the Wisconsin statutes. The fifth count of the information in this case charges that Darrell E. Brooks, on or about Sunday, November 21 of 2021, on Main Street in the city of Waukesha, Waukesha County, Wisconsin, did cause the death of Wilhelm Hospital with intent to kill that person and while using a dangerous weapon, contrary to sections 940.01 sub 1 sub a, 939.50 sub 3 sub a, and 939.63 sub 1 sub b of the Wisconsin statutes. The sixth count of the information in this case charges that Darrell E. Brooks, on or about Sunday, November 21 of 2021, on Main Street in the city of Waukesha, Waukesha County, Wisconsin, did cause the death of Jackson Sparks with intent to kill that person and while using a dangerous weapon, contrary to sections 940.01 sub 1 sub a, 939.50 sub 3 sub a, and 939.63 sub 1 sub b of the Wisconsin statutes. The defendant has entered a plea of not guilty to each of these charges, which means the state must prove every element of each offense charge beyond a reasonable doubt. First-degree intentional homicide, as defined in section 940.01 of the Criminal Code of Wisconsin, is committed by one who causes the death of another human being with the intent to kill that person or another. Before you may find the defendant guilty of any count of first-degree intentional homicide, the state must prove by evidence which satisfies you beyond a reasonable doubt that the following two elements were present with respect to that count. One, as to each count, the defendant caused the death of the victim named in that count. Cause means that the defendant's act was a substantial factor in producing the death. Two, as to each count, the defendant acted with intent to kill the victim named in that count. Intent to kill means that the defendant had the mental purpose to take the life of another human being or was aware that his conduct was practically certain to cause the death of another human being. While the law requires that the defendant acted with intent to kill, it does not require that the intent exist for any particular length of time before the act is committed. The act need not be brooded over, considered, or reflected upon for a week, a day, an hour, or even for a minute. There need not be any appreciable time between the formation of the intent and the act. The intent to kill may be formed at any time before the act, including the instant before the act, and must continue to exist at the time of the act. You cannot look into a person's mind to find intent. Intent to kill must be found, if found at all, from the defendant's acts, words, and statements, if any, and from all the facts and circumstances in this case bearing upon intent. Intent should not be confused with motive. While proof of intent is necessary to a conviction, proof of motive is not. Motive refers to a person's reason for doing something. While motive may be shown as a circumstance to aid in establishing the guilt of a defendant, the state is not required to prove motive on the part of a defendant in order to convict. Evidence of motive does not by itself establish guilt. You should give it the weight you believe it deserves under all of the circumstances. The information alleges not only that the defendant committed the crimes of first-degree intentional homicide, but also that the defendant did so while using a dangerous weapon. Dangerous weapon means any device or instrumentality which, in the manner it is used or intended to be used, is likely to produce death or great bodily harm. Great bodily harm means serious bodily injury. If you find the defendant guilty of a count of first-degree intentional homicide, you must answer the following question, yes or no. Did the defendant commit the crime of first-degree intentional homicide while using a dangerous weapon? Before you may answer this question, yes, you must be satisfied beyond a reasonable doubt that the defendant committed the crime of first-degree intentional homicide while using a dangerous weapon. If you are not so satisfied, you must answer the question, no. If you are satisfied beyond a reasonable doubt that both elements of first-degree intentional homicide have been proved as to count one, you should find the defendant guilty of first-degree intentional homicide as charged in count one. If you are not so satisfied, you must find the defendant not guilty as to count one. If you find the defendant guilty of count one, you must answer the following question, yes or no. Did the defendant commit the crime of first-degree intentional homicide while using a dangerous weapon? If you are satisfied beyond a reasonable doubt that both elements of first-degree intentional homicide have been proved as to count two, you should find the defendant guilty of first-degree intentional homicide as charged in count two. If you are not so satisfied, you must find the defendant not guilty as to count two. If you find the defendant guilty of count two, you must answer the following question, yes or no. Did the defendant commit the crime of first
Okay. How about now? All right. Let me start again. So, w what I was saying is that she's gonna continue to read 104 pages of this document. So, what I will do is I will end the live now. Thank you all for coming. I will resume part 2 of this live after lunch. As soon as they come back from lunch, we will go live again. I anticipate that'll be around 1 PM. I'll put a thumbnail up for 1 PM. I hope we can see you guys then. Jerry, hello. It's just about to end. We will go live for part 2 right after lunch, about 1 PM. She's reading from a very long document. Um, so and that will take the rest of the morning, I am positive. So as soon as closing arguments start, we will come back for part 2, probably around 1 PM. So thank you guys. I will see you then. If you're watching back on the replay, see you on part 2. Bye. Don't forget to hit that thumbs up, guys, on your way out this morning. Thank you all. All right. Melissa will be back with us. All right. Bye, guys.